In verse 6, we are told the demon-possessed man did not wait for Jesus to draw near. Instead, he ran towards him and fell down. This man, who had not been following Jesus, was completely separated from his own society and was deemed unclean, immediately knew who Jesus was and recognized him in 3 different ways. And when he saw Jesus from afar, he ran and fell down before him. And crying out with a loud voice, he said, "What have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I adjure you by God, do not torment me." So first, the man kneels or falls down before Jesus. This is not an act of reverence or worship, it's just an act of homage. Second, he addresses him as Jesus, Son of the Most High God. This phrase, Most High God, was used in the Old Testament by the Gentiles in reference to God, the true God over Israel. Acknowledging the divinity or Jesus' alliance with God was, again, not an act of reverence. It was a way for the demons to take control of the situation or to try to catch Jesus off guard. Thirdly, he petitioned Jesus not to punish him, which acknowledges the authority and power Jesus possessed. So we are, again, faced with evil spirits, immediately knowing who Jesus is, in contrast to men who are living side by side with Jesus and are still fighting doubt and uncertainty. Continuing on in verse 8. For he was saying to him, "Come out of the man, you unclean spirit." And Jesus asked him, "What is your name?" He replied, "My name is Legion, for we are many." And he begged him earnestly not to send them out of the country. Now a great herd of pigs was feeding there on the hillside, and they begged him, saying, "Send us to the pigs, let us enter them." And so he gave them permission. The other witnesses to this event was a herdsman, who after seeing the spirits enter the pigs and the pigs drive themselves over a cliff and drown, fled and told it to the city and in the country. In 1 Samuel, we find another story of fear and doubt in which people lose sight of God. In fact, it takes a young shepherd to show them what a true faith in God looks like. During the reign of King Saul, the Israelites were at odds with the Philistines. And each day Goliath of Gath came out in his armor with a javelin hanging between his shoulders and a spear in his hand, and called to the Israelites to choose a man to come and kill him. 1 Samuel 17:11. When Saul and Israel heard these words of the Philistine, they were dismayed and greatly afraid. This went on for 40 days, morning and night. During one battle, David, who was a shepherd going back and forth between the army camp and his father's sheep, heard the call of Goliath that scattered the armies in fear. David inquired about this challenge and was stunned that the men were afraid, knowing God was on their side. Where the men felt terror and fear over the size of Goliath, David saw a victory in God. David knew without a doubt that anyone against God could not possibly win. David did not get lost by the message his eyes were telling him or by the fear he felt all around him, because David held on to what he knew to be true and to believe in what he could not physically see. So Saul agrees to send David out to fight Goliath, and David does not waver in this task. 1 Samuel 45, David says to the Philistine, "You come to me with a sword, with a spear, with a javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hand, and I will strike you down and cut off your head." Because when we leave no room for fear to penetrate our faith, there's no hesitation in taking that next step in any situation. The healing transformation of the demon-possessed man was so great that people from the towns and surrounding countryside and areas had to come and witness it for themselves. In verse 15, And they came to Jesus and saw the demon-possessed man, the one who had the legion, sitting there clothed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. And those who had seen it described to them what had happened to the demon-possessed man and to the pigs. And they began to beg Jesus to depart from the region. You see, what the people were afraid of was not the fact that Jesus could heal such a man. It was more that he had commanded those spirits to enter the pigs, which drove them to run off a cliff. It was the potential loss of income that the townspeople focused on, and not the healing of a person they never considered one of their own anyway. It says Jesus prepares to leave. The man begs to go with him, but Jesus says, "You cannot go with me. You cannot come with me." Instead, Jesus sends them on a mission to tell everyone what has happened. And this is really what Jesus wants of each of us. He wants us to seek him out, to let him heal us, to let him fill us, to let him sustain us, so that he can then send us out too. He does not want us to live in doubt or in fear. He wants us to see through those distractions and to look directly for him. Doubt and fear will find each of us throughout this life, I am sure. What is also a surety is that God is already standing between the two, waiting for us to see him in the midst. Because once you lock eyes with Jesus, you will want to draw near and stay near to him. But like the man who wandered the tombs and was eventually set free, Jesus will draw near and then release you too. He will release you to go and tell your family, to go and tell your friends, to go and tell your neighbors and your coworkers about the mercy, about the grace, and about what the Lord has done for you.